ask Mr. Hawkins something?
Sure.
How many years in the police department?
I have been here at the Bossier City Police Department. I was hired September of '93, so this year would have been 18 years.
18 years. I think we owe it to Mr. Hawkins to hear his side. You know, to be fair, I really do.
Well, I certainly do.
Since we've asked everything else, let's ask this. What was the punishment for on the suspension?
I was dispatched to a vehicle burglary. There was several burglaries in the neighborhood off of Middle Creek and the Shed Road area. And Sergeant, I went to a state trooper's vehicle that had been burglarized. His next door neighbor's vehicle had been burglarized. And Homeland Security guy a couple blocks over had been burglarized. When I got to the state trooper's vehicle, they'd broken out the path. He was driving, I think, a Durango. The back passenger side window, cargo area window, had been broken out. The guy had reached in, whoever was burglarized, reached in, got the stuff, and came out and took it. I got my flashlight out. I looked for fingerprints on the outside of the vehicle. Had road grime on the vehicle, except where the guy's clothing had touched the vehicle when he leaned in. Texture surfaces inside from the plastics and carpets and what have you. I didn't see any fingerprints based on the actual fingerprint training that I had received at the Bossier City Police Department. I did not see any fingerprints. Sergeant Powell walks over from next door, and I told her, I don't see any fingerprints. She said, well, I found one next door on this vehicle and went back over there. At one point, Captain Viola shows up, and he's made aware that I didn't find any fingerprints on this vehicle. Because I did not get my fingerprint kit out and dust for fingerprints on that vehicle, and remember now, the senior sergeant in patrol showed up. That's Sergeant Powell. She is the senior sergeant in patrol. And Captain Viola showed up. No one thought to or told to call out ID to get them to come out and dust for fingerprints. Sergeant Powell didn't offer to bring her fingerprint from next door and dust for prints. Because I did not get my fingerprint kit out and dust for fingerprints, Chief McWilliams found me in dereliction of duty for not getting my fingerprint kit out and trying to lift fingerprints.
County. There was state police vehicle was broken into, there was tactical weapons, there was ammunition, there was tactical vests, there was a state trooper's uniform stolen, anything that could be used for, I don't know, terrorism, whatever it might be. By the time I found out that he did take no action to try to find a fingerprint, the state police were already in the process of having an ID team sent here from Baton Rouge to process that vehicle. The vehicle had been taken to Troop G headquarters. We sent our ID team out there, and they did obtain fingerprints off that vehicle. He was dereliction of duty. Once again, he did nothing. He's going to put it all on the senior captain, senior sergeant, say that they didn't tell him to do it. I don't need a sergeant that has to be told everything to do. Thank you.
I would say, I was promoted to sergeant, I believe, in January of 2008. When I got promoted, they sent me to be a school resource officer at Charlotte Vigil Education Center. The police department got out of the business of being school resource officers. We turned it over to the sheriff's office. So June of 2010, I was put back on patrol. I was given a fingerprint kit, I was given a camera, told to ride with another sergeant for a few days to learn what a sergeant does. That was my training. They provided a documentation from 2001 that showed I took a crime scene investigation class, but they had no outline of that class, what that class actually, what the course outline was. They talked to a couple of participants in that class that said that they remembered us fingerprinting Coke cans. One said they remembered Coke cans. The other one said, well, we fingerprinted something but don't remember what it was. Myself, I don't remember fingerprinting anything. I don't even remember having fingerprint kits or dust or anything. My contentions to the chief at the time of that hearing in his office was that I was not trained by the Bossier City Police Department on how to identify or lift fingerprints. I have put in for several schools to go to learn different training for the police department that have been denied over the years. But Chief McWilliams felt that I had been trained in it and went ahead with his decision.
Okay, so the vehicle at the residence you were at was Homeland Security or state?
I was at the state police.
At the state police officers.
That-
It was his vehicle.
It was the state vehicle.
The state
It belonged to
vehicle.
state.
And you were aware of what was taken from that vehicle?
Was, as was the captain and the senior sergeant. All three of us were aware. I received
You were
disciplinary.
there, right? You were there first, or?
Actually, no, Officer Humphrey was there first. I think Sergeant Powell had arrived, was right next door. And then while I was still there on the scene, she came over before I even left the scene. And I told her why I was at the scene. I did not find any fingerprints. And her response was, well, I found one next door and went back next door.
Who's in charge of processing the scene? The senior person that shows up, or?
No, no.
How does it work?
What you're talking about is a situation where there's multiple vehicle burglaries. Now, it could be that the supervisor steps in and say, due to the magnitude, we're gonna call out ID. Here's what the bottom line is, he felt like he wasn't adequately trained. He said he looked at it, he doesn't see any print. Probably 8 out of 10 times, you're not gonna look at it and visibly see any labels. If you don't feel like you're adequately trained and you got a situation of this seriousness, tactical weapons, tactical gear, bulletproof vest, call out crime scene. They'll come out there and they'll do the job. There again, didn't even have the thought process to call out crime scene. You don't have to, I mean, if you felt like it needed to be, call your lieutenant, call a senior sergeant. Tell the captain, hey, maybe we need to call out crime scene. Wasn't done. We just walked away from it and we did nothing, once again.
When you became aware of it, what happened?
Once I became aware of it, I was actually embarrassed, first of all, because we had criminal ID unit come from Baton Rouge to do a job that we should have done. So I call out Troop D, we sent out our crime scene unit at that time, they process it and they get paid.
Normally, I would concur with the chief on this. However, like I said, the senior sergeant in patrol was on my scene. Who has been a sergeant, she actually should be a lieutenant by now, but she has had problems with the test. The senior captain, who is the senior person in patrol, those two people came to my scene. Our department policy is when the next senior person shows up, they actually take charge of the scene unless they, defer it to the person who's already on the scene. So the captain and the sergeant were aware that I was not able to find prints, but they didn't suggest to call ID out, which in this case we call the detective on call who makes that decision. They didn't get disciplined. They were on the scene. They knew what I knew. They don't get disciplined. I got disciplined.
Not being able to find print is not standing there with the naked eye and the flashlight looking. Not being able to find latent is throwing some powder, using some tape, trying to lift prints. Standing there with a flashlight or whatever you had is not an attempt to locate prints. Not an attempt, period. Just like in the hearing we heard a while ago, Officer Hawkins wants to put it off on Sergeant Gatos. He told him what to do. There again, I got a scenario back in January that he wasn't told what to do, so therefore we did nothing. I can't have that. It's not acceptable.
There was also documentation that we reduced at that hearing that he did attend the fingerprint class and was in fact the class that Sergeant Powell, who dusted the other car. So, I don't know, I hate to have to be making all these responses, but I feel like we can't just sit here and let this man run with it.
That's the slippery slope that we got on but the board is entitled to.
I understand that, and I appreciate their interest.
They're an investigatory body as well, so they're entitled to ask whatever question.
I just find it interesting that you got two police officers with probably 35 years of combined experience, and that was only one person, 4 years better.
I'm a paramedic and a captain, and if I'm on scene, and I'm senior paramedic. I gotta take over. If they're doing something wrong, I have to take over. You know, if I see them doing something wrong, it's my responsibility. It's gonna fall back on me.
I don't know in this situation, but as far as the print goes, that he was doing something wrong. You know, if you come to me and say, I didn't find prints, or I didn't find any labels, I'm assuming that you threw some powder and you ripped some tape.
Shouldn't the senior guys, you got these officers been here 30+ years, and this man there, and these two officers been here 30 years, and they're like, they let him not take prints, or not process the vehicle. They're just as responsible.
Well, I don't know that they knew that he didn't throw any powder. In fact, that's my point. If you come to me, and I worked homicide robberies for 10 years, if I have a crime scene tech, or if I have somebody come to me and they say that they didn't find any labels, that means that they didn't find any. That means they threw some powder, and they threw some tape, and they didn't find anything. It doesn't mean they sat there with a flashlight and said, there ain't no prints here, and then just get up and walk away.
It's got to be some type of communication between the three superiors, and let's decide on what we're gonna do with the vehicle.
I mean, y'all can sit here and ask.
You go all night.
Let them prop up and down, but, I mean, you know, if that's what y'all want to do, fine, but you're not getting to the, issues that are before the board here, so.
Mr. Chairman.
Obviously, you wanna